But before we get there, here is part of Ogunnipe's statement that revealed that part of the payment was forwarded by Afe Babalola and Co. Look at it here. Among these players, the office of Afe Babalola and Co., one of the Nigerian's most prominent law firm, played a significant role in manipulating the justice system to facilitate the misappropriation of Nwude's assets. All right, guys, so I'm back, and what we have here is the shocking confessional statement. I don't even know where to start because what I have here is a lot. It is overwhelming, it is shocking, and it is deeper than you could ever imagine. As you can see, what I have here is about 59 pages of people's confession and testimonies of how they framed up a man because of his asset, and Chief Afe Babalola's office was used to facilitate this fraud. Like you clearly heard from the voice note I played in my previous video, the entire process through which Chief Emmanuel Nwude was tried and jailed was fraudulent because he was framed up. And what I have here are certified copies direct from court, and I'm sure they will be shocked how I got hold of this document. Don't worry, I also have the transcript because this is a written confessional statement of people that was admitted as exhibit in court. I may not be able to take you through all the statement, but I will just go through the important one because, like I said before, this is a lot. Okay, so here also I have another document that detailed the role Chief Afe Babalola played in this whole thing. We'll also go through it. But first, let's start with a detailed investigative report by Point Blank News in 2021 concerning this. Please help me to like and share this video so that YouTube and Facebook can recommend it to more people. More people really need to see this because, like I said before, it turned out that those fighting so hard to protect their integrity have none to protect in the first place. All right, according to this report, fact has emerged on how top officials of the Economic and Financial Crimes Commission, EFCC, framed up Chief Emmanuel Nwude and Mrs. Amaka Anajimba, charging them with using advance fee fraud, aka 419, to defraud a Brazilian bank, Banco Noroeste SA, of $242 million US. However, PointBlankNews.com investigations have revealed that Nwude and Anajimba may have been wrongly convicted. The investigations uncovered a grand conspiracy by high-ranking government officials, particularly those in the EFCC. Most of them made millions of US dollars from the controversial case. One official of note is EFCC chairman at the time, Nuhu Ribadu. Another is Babajide Ogundipe, a lawyer who claimed he was briefed to recover a judgment debt against Anajimba and Nwude. It was Ogundipe who invented the theory that Nwude and Anajimba wanted to sell an airport to a Brazilian bank, Banco Noroeste SA. Documents have revealed that the fraud was committed by one Nelson Sakaguchi, a staff of the Banco Noroeste SA. Now pay attention to this. This is how they committed the fraud and how they framed up Chief Emmanuel Nwude. The reason why I'm reading part of this report is so you know the background story, because for a very long time we've been told a different story, and I myself believed that wrong narrative for a very long time, just like so many of you, until this whole thing came up and I decided to make deeper research. Moving on, checks revealed that Sakaguchi had an extensive global business network and had transferred some money to his business partners in Nigeria. The money passed through a clearinghouse owned by Nwude. During his trial in the US, Sakaguchi alleged that he used part of the stolen funds in an investment in an airport in Nigeria. An audit report by PricewaterhouseCoopers Auditors Independent (XC) also confirmed that Nwude and a few others received money from Sakaguchi's partners. A High Court of London Chancery Division had earlier cleared the 18 defendants in the case, Emmanuel Nwude, of culpability in the crime. The court held that Nwude's involvement was the payment he got from his money transfer services. However, Ribado and his accomplice picked up the airport story, ignored all the facts established by the court in Brazil, US and London, twisted the story and went ahead to hunt Anajemba, Nwude and their families into prisons. Now, the interesting part is that after they sold all the properties, instead of them to put the money into the federation account as required by the law, they shared the money between themselves. Ribadu's successor in EFCC, Mrs. Farida Waziri, once again gave an insight into the disposal of forfeited assets. According to Waziri, upon assumption of office, she discovered the absence of record of the recorded asset. An account for the proceeds of the sale, she pointedly accused Ribadu of leaving the proceeds of assets of persons in the hands of thieves. Now, let's quickly go to the confessional statement. We will come back to this report, but let me read out one of the statement of how they fraudulently sold one of the property, which is the Russel Center in Abuja, which was not initially listed among the property that was forfeited by the court. All right, so this is the statement of Hanifi. It is transcribed. I of the above address was born on the 7th day of January 1969 in Ilorin, Kwara State. I attended Alo Primary School, Ilorin, between 1974 to 1980. And I proceeded to Government High School in Ilorin in 1980 and passed out in 1985. I obtained admission into the Usman Danfodio University, Sokoto in 1987 and graduated in 1992 with LLB. I attended Nigerian Law School in 1993 and was called to bar in the same year. I observed the NYSC in 1994 and joined the firm of JIO Ojilike in the same year. I was further employed by Messrs. I don't know if that is correct, Sofunde, Oshake, Ogundipe, and Bego in 1996, and I left in 1998 to set up my own practice in conjunction with one Mr. Aluko. Sometimes in December 2004, I was appointed by Sofunde, Osakwe, Ogundipe, and Bego to observe the management of Russel Center, Abuja. I thereafter set up an office in the Center for Effective Management. We let space to prospective tenants and collect rent from sitting tenants. In about March 2005, I made my effort of letting the filling station at the center. I received offers from about 2 prospects which to run the space. One of them was Prince Dr. Akin Rutan of Obat Oil and Petroleum Limited. The first proposal he submitted was that his company will pay us 1 or 2 naira on every liter of fuel sold. I told him that I am not impressed by that proposal because I know that there is no way I can monitor the liters sold. I then proposed a lease of 1 or 2 years. To enable me determine the appropriate rent, I invited a friend from Jide Taiwo and Co., an estate firm who advised me on the rent. I proposed 7.5 million, while he proposed 5 million. We eventually agreed to 6.5, and he paid the following amount: 13 million as gross rent for 2 years, 1.950 as service charge, and 1.3 as agency and agreement fees. He commenced operation on about May 2005. Around September 2005, the state obtained an order of final forfeiture of Russel Center, and I was informed that the property is up for sale by Sofunde. Mind you, at this time, there was no court order for the forfeiture of this particular property. There was no explicit court order. Don't worry. If time permits us in this particular video, when we go through the order statement, you will understand. Now, by Sofunde, Osakwe, Ogunipe, and Bego, I informed Prince Dr. Akin Rutan of Obat Oye, and he expressed his willingness to purchase the property. I asked him to do a letter to my office, which he did. He offered 1.8 billion and I forwarded it to Mr. Ogundipe, and the offer was rejected. He wrote another offer of 2.3 billion, which was also rejected. He thereafter offered 2.5 billion, which was equally rejected. At a time, Mr. Ogundipe informed me that Chief Chris Oba was interested in the property for 3 billion. I told Akin Rutan of this and I arranged a meeting for him with Mr. Ogundipe. They eventually met at the Hilton where Dr. agreed to pay 3.2 billion. At this stage, I knew the property was overvalued. Having regard to the income of the property, I knew that it will take about 20 to 25 years to recoup the money. Dr. thereafter paid 200 million naira as commitment fees. This was sometimes in December or January. Time went on and Dr. was unable to raise the balance. At this time, nobody was really coming up with money on a particular day. Mr. Bego met with Dr. in Chief Afe Babalola's office. Can you now see that Afe Babalola was working underground? Don't worry, when we get to that document of the role that Afe Babalola played, you will understand. So, Mr. Bego met Dr. in Chief Afe Babalola's office, and he later told me that he restated the need for Dr. to pay more money to show his further commitment. I later learned that Dr. paid another 800 million naira to make it 1 billion. As time passed by, it was becoming apparent that Dr. could not come up with the money. According to him, all his bankers felt that the property was overvalued. He then called one day that he would discuss the possibility of reducing the amount with Sofunde, Osakwe, Ogunipe, and Bego, and I asked him to proceed. He eventually informed me that he got bargain of 2.3 billion, and I was particularly happy because I know that selling the property for 3.2 billion is certainly not good for the man. Permit me to observe that when the agreement to sell the property for 3.2 billion was reached, one of the terms of the sale is that Dr. will pay 300 million naira as fees and commission on sale. When the bargain for 2.3 billion naira was arrived at, I was told by Mr. Bego that Dr. said he was not going to pay 300 million naira, but only 200 million naira. And since I was the person that brought Dr. to them, I felt obliged to come in and persuade the daughter to pay the agreed fees, because I felt it was not good that having assisted the man in getting a reduction, it will not be good that he will shortchange them on their fees. I also informed him that there are other interested parties. I mentioned Ricky Tafa and Rotimi Jacobs, who was prosecuting for the EFCC. Immediately I mentioned Ricky Tafa, he said that they should not give him anything because he had come to him and demanded for money. He said Ricky Tafa told him that Sofunde, Osakwe, Ogunipe, and Bego are not the person with authority to sell, but that it is only EFCC that has that power. He then said that he gave Ricky Tafa $500,000. According to him, Ricky Tafa demanded the money on behalf of himself and the EFCC. On getting to Mr. Bego, I told him the situation of things, and he said that Dr. had told him the same thing. Now, if we go back to that detailed investigative report by Point Blank News, You will see how the EFCC used this same Rikitafa to manipulate Nwude from initially pleading not guilty to pleading guilty that led to the forfeiture of his properties. But before we get there, here is part of Ogunnipe's statement that revealed that part of the payment was forwarded by Afe Babalola and co. Look at it here. He said the payments were made as follows: a check excuse me, a check in the sum of 200 million naira was forwarded to my firm by Afe Babalola and co. on behalf of Albert Oye. Now, coming back to this Point Blank News investigation, pointblanknews.com investigation revealed that shortly after the judgment of the High Court of London Chancery Division exonerating Chief Nwude and Florence Nwude of any complicity in the fraud and liability to pay any monies to the claimant, Ogunnipe approached Nwude with a blackmail to settle him. Nwude walked Ogunnipe out of his house. An infuriated Ogunnipe petitioned the Inspector General of Police, presumably on behalf of Nelson Sakaguchi, the one that faced trial in London, remember? Acting on the petition, a high-ranking police officer demanded a bribe of 200 million naira from Emmanuel Nwude to let him live in peace. After much pressure, Nwude reluctantly offered 10 million naira. The DIG who was assigned the petition rejected the money, leading to a charge against him and Mrs. Anajimba at the magistrate court. At the magistrate court, Nwude and Anajimba were charged with obtaining money from Sakaguchi. Since Sakaguchi was not in Nigeria, Ogunnipe got some persons who claimed to be shareholders of Brazilian bank to initiate a fresh petition to the IGP. To prove this is a statement from the lawyer's appeal stating that this is forwarded to me by my source, by the way, and it states that during the appellant proceedings, certain individuals applied to join as parties, claiming they were victims named in the amended charges. They were subsequently added. Let me also read another part that also confirmed what we've been reading since. It says here, this new evidence indicates that the actual crime against the bank was orchestrated by its own staff, who were later convicted. This revelation was brought to light by Babajide Ogunnipe, the initiator of the original petition. Further evidence suggests that the proceeds from the sale of the defendant's properties were distributed among involved parties, with none being remitted to the federal government as mandated by the EFCC Act. Albert approached Ricky to help compromise Nwude so that he would agree to sell the property to him. This act was facilitated by Friday Kuja, a cousin to Chief Nwude. The fee Ricky Tafa charged was for that purpose, and he succeeded in convincing Nwude to sell to Albert. In writing, Nwude wrote in his own writing, agreeing to sell to Albert provided he was going to buy at 3.2 billion. All right, so if we come back to this investigation, unfortunately I have to be jumping because, like I told you guys, this is just a whole lot. Maybe what I would do is I'll look for a way to publish everything, maybe on my news this thing, so that everybody can just read it. So if you come back to this particular report by Point Blank News, it says, listen, just hear this one. Under detention, we, on the orders of our chairman and Ogunnipe, subjected Nwude to several forms of mental torture. We would arrest his aged parents and relations and make them pile pressure on Nwude to enter a term of settlement with us, he added. The EFCC appointed Rikitafa. He said, the reason we appointed for him Rikitafa was to manipulate him. Ricky was one of the most successful agents we used to make Nwude accept to change his plea from one of not guilty to that of guilty, insisting that it was the best option open to him in the circumstances to avoid further harassment of his family and secure his release from detention. This is from EFCC agent. Continued the agent, eventually, we made Nwude succumbed to pressure and changed his plea from not guilty to one of guilty against his personal conviction and better judgment to charge number ID/92C/2004, which was only read to him in the court. Hence, he could not have known the full content of the charge. He added, sadly, contrary to the enticement of a plea bargain touted by the EFCC and Nwude's counsel, Tafa, in convincing him to change his plea, the trial court still handed him the maximum sentence of 5 years without option of fine for a charge under section 419 of the Criminal Code, which he had completely served. We put this particular report under comment section. Right now, we just have to move to that particular report of the role Afe Babalola played so that we can quickly conclude this video. Alright guys, I was tired and needed to take a break. So this is it. Framing Emmanuel Nwude, a closer look at the role of Afe Babalola's chamber in the alleged conspiracy. The case of Emmanuel Nwude, infamous for a $242 million fraud against Banco Noreste in the late 90s, has long been considered one of the most shocking in financial crime history. Yet, as more information comes to light, it becomes clear that the narrative may not have been straightforward as it seems. Imagine evidence suggests that Nwude was not only targeted but systematically framed. His conviction being part of a larger plot involving key players in Nigeria's legal system. Among these players, the office of Afe Babalola and Co., one of the Nigerian's most prominent law firm, played a significant role in manipulating the justice system to facilitate the misappropriation of Nwude's assets. Jumping to number 2 of the alleged conspiracy, the Russel Center scandal. While the court ordered the forfeiture of several of Nwude's properties, the Russel Center, a high-valued commercial property in Abuja, was not originally included in the court order. Despite this, the property was fraudulently added to the list, sold under dubious circumstances, and at a grossly undervalued price of 2.3 billion, far below its market valuation of 3.2 billion. Now, the role of Afe Babalola's chamber in the sale. Afe Babalola's chambers provided the legal framework for the fraudulent sale. By offering legal backing, they legitimized a process that was riddled with deceit, allowing those involved to bypass necessary legal scrutiny. It will interest you to know the property was sold without the explicit authorization of Nwude, who was deceived into believing the sale was part of a legitimate court order. Key documents and assurances were manipulated to ensure the sale appeared lawful, even though it was not. Alright guys, we just have to stop this video here because if I continue, everywhere will catch fire. This is a 4-page detailed document of the atrocities that these people committed. So let's just leave it here first. I've given you guys the first page of the document, so let's leave it here first. If need be, there may be a continuation, but this is just to let you know that those, like I said before, fighting so hard to protect their integrity have none to protect in the first place. And I just wondered how they have managed to concede this and presented a very perfect image to the general public. And now, one man have the courage and boldness to speak out, and all hell turned loose. And eventually, everything that the man said that they are fighting is actually what they are doing right now. I still have the other confessional statement. Like I said before, if there is any need at all, if need be, there will be a continuation of this video. Or better still, I will just look for a way to publish all the documents I have with me so that everybody can read. May breeze blow, may foul nyash, kukuma open. And that is it for you all, my people. I'm going to leave you all to share your thoughts with me on the comment section. And I will beg you, please share this video to as many that need to see this video, because They said every day for the thief, one day for the owner. Nemesis is beginning to cut up with them, and that is it for you all. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you all in my next video. Bye.